This video is sponsored by Outline-Matic, a company that specializes in creating quality, affordable designs for e-commerce sellers. So for example, Outline-Matic will create your packaging design, your logo design. They also do t-shirts, brochures, and infographics. And what I like about them is that they will do unlimited revisions until you are satisfied at one low price. This is unheard of. Not only that, but all the designers are based in the US and there is a 100% money back guarantee. So if you need a package or logo design or anything design whatsoever, go with Outline-Matic.
My name is Zach Smith, and the title of this campaign comes from Steve. He told me this is what he wanted it to be called. So, how to launch a successful crowdfunding campaign, fund your first production run on your very first try. A few preliminaries first. I noticed Steve's not in the room, so sadly he won't get at some of this. But Steve and I actually go back quite a long way. A couple years ago, we had the unfortunate privilege of watching the Golden State Warriors get upset to the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 7. We were there, pretty good seats, it was a good time. And it was a last-minute kind of thing. Steve's like, you want to go to Game 7? And I live in Utah, he's in California, and I said, sure, let's do it. And within like 12 hours, we had tickets, and we were there, and it was a pretty crazy event. I don't have a good picture of Steve, though, so that's just me and a couple guys that work for me. You may notice this is like going on 10 days, so I'm actually probably not really sick anymore, but I've still lost my voice. That's us at the top of Kalapatar. Just got back from trekking Southeast Asia for the last 30 days. Again, I love Steve a lot, so I cut my trip short, and I'm here. That was Mount Everest Base Camp. And then last night, when I got home, I had tickets to Hamilton. If anybody hasn't seen that musical, I highly recommend it. It was in our home city of Salt Lake City. And I left right after the song Burn. So I love you guys. I'm really happy to be here today because Hamilton is like my favorite musical. So with that said, oh, and by the way, if you want to follow the slides, I just did a tweet like maybe an hour ago or so. So if you're on Twitter, @tweetzachsmith, I think my most recent tweet, aside from the pinned tweet, will be the slides if you want to follow along so you don't have to take pictures. Or you can get them after because I think this is all being recorded. So before I begin, I want to tell a little bit about Funded today, a little bit about why maybe you can listen to me and trust me a little bit on what I'm saying here. So very quickly, because I don't want to spend too much time telling the story, but I have been a serial entrepreneur my entire life. I'm 31, be 32 in April. I guess I just barely turned 31. Shows how long I've been out of the country. And one of the very first businesses I started was fairly successful. It was in a very specific niche. And I sold that business, and I took what I learned from that business, and I kind of became an e-commerce consultant. And I worked with small to medium-sized businesses, doing lots of different consulting, funnels, emails, affiliate marketing, and it became a pretty successful business. It was called Start Doing Business. I think startdoingbusiness.com actually even still exists. Some of you may have heard of it. One of my clients, though, the Rue Sport, they're pretty famous now. You've probably seen them around. They're an attachable magnetic running wallet. They've got a couple different patents on things, and they've sold millions of dollars worth of this product. I usually bring it with, but I forgot today. Rewinding back, they're a 60-year-old couple out of South Ogden, Utah, and they had come to me and they said, hey, I used to bill on retainer, kind of like an attorney or an accountant, which is what my degree was in. And they said, hey, we can't afford your upfront fees, your retainers, all that kind of stuff, but you've heard of this thing called crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo. And at the time, I had kind of only heard about it a little bit. They said, how about you come on to crowdfunding, you film our video for us, you design our page, and you do all the marketing, and we'll give you a cut of everything, and we won't pay anything up front. And we were in a pretty good position at the time, and I liked the idea, and I thought, okay, let's go for it. And we went for it, and it was very successful. In the course of about 30 days, we raised them over $115,000. And the rest was history. They got their seed capital, they funded their first production run, and now they're all over the place, and I think it's been 5, 6 years now, and they're successful. That led to a lot of people saying, how the heck did this Ruse Sport, this little attachable magnetic running pocket, and these old guys, I guess Brendan and Earl, how did they have such success? And a lot of people started coming and knocking and asking, and I was still doing my consulting, my business partner was still doing his thing, but so many people wanted us to suddenly start raising money for them that it became something we decided to do. And these are some of the pictures. We have kind of an internal joke within my company. If you've seen something on Kickstarter or Indiegogo and it's raised a lot of money, there's a 90% chance Funded Today is the company behind it. It really kind of became that apparent. So those are some of our biggest wins. We're probably going to be featured in the top 500 in the Inc. 500 this year. We're one of the fastest growing private companies. We got a lot of press along the way. In fact, everything I'm wearing today, I kind of like to do this when I present because even though we've made a lot of money and raised people a lot of money, it's kind of fun to have all the stuff. So I've got an original grain watch, McMacular pants. This is a Silver Air shirt. I think I got I got my Basics wallet. Jeez, I don't know. I'm not going to tell you about the underwear I'm wearing, but so it was fun. We got a lot of press. And today, if you go to our website, I took this screenshot a day or two ago when I was filing this presentation. We've raised $191,896,601. It's kind of a fun thing. If you're ever bored, just go on the page and click refresh, and you can see how much money we're making and raising for all the different clients that we have. That's the story of Funded Today. That's where we're at now. So now why crowdfunding? I know I've heard most of you sell on Amazon or Shopify or e-commerce. We do a lot of that now too. So if you do have questions about Amazon or e-commerce or need an agency for something like that, we could talk about that as well. But why might this presentation matter for you? I came up with 5 reasons why I think crowdfunding is a great thing to do if you're on Amazon, if you have an e-commerce site. Number 1, and I love this one because I've seen it now for six years or so since I've been in the space, Kickstarter backers and Indiegogo backers. Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Is everybody familiar with crowdfunding, by the way? I hope I'm talking to the right people. Yeah? Raise your hand. Okay, good. Crowdfunding, rewards-based crowdfunding is what we kind of specialize in. Kickstarter and Indiegogo are kind of the 2 main players. They're early adopters and they're innovators. And because of this, unlike anything you've ever done, and I'm like a crazy data guy, all I care about is numbers, conversion rates are going to be way better than you'll ever see. Now that we do full e-commerce marketing, now that we do a lot of Amazon stuff, our conversion rates are still way better for a crowdfunding campaign. And why is that? I think, based upon everything I've seen and over the years, it's because they're innovators and early adopters. So they like to be the first person to be behind an idea. They like the idea of being a pioneer. And you don't get that. You lose that right off. You lose that after your 30 to 60-day campaign. Number 2, Kickstarter backers are forgiving. You might not be able to see these slides, but everybody's kind of seen Amazon reviews where you get ripped apart. The good part is, with crowdfunding, and this is probably too small too, so if it is, sorry, but again, you can download my slides. And you could go on any site. Now, granted, you can go on any site on Kickstarter and run into some people that had some trouble delivering and fulfilling, and they take years, and in that case, they're not as forgiving. But along the way, along the process, you're able to communicate with these people, and they haven't even seen the product yet, and they're like, hey, you should tweak that. With the Roo Sport, we saw the same thing. Big phones were becoming popular again. You need to make it a little bigger. You need to do this. We need a stronger magnet. You need to do... And by the time we actually had a product on Amazon, we had all kinds of 5-star reviews and hardly any negativity because it all got taken care of from the forgiving backers on Kickstarter. And I found that to be a really good reason for going to Kickstarter first. Number 3, you can do a 2.0. And I use the Roo Sport example again here, or a 3.0 or 4.0. So everybody who has an existing product, and I liked the last presentation that was in here. I don't know if anybody, I think it was Daniel Solid. He was talking about some different things he did with patents, with utility patents, and how he combined certain elements to make different things. That's exactly what we do. We haven't gone to the extent, well, sometimes we do. We haven't gone to the extent of doing as much patent stuff because most of the time that it's just too early on to do that. But we've done all kinds of tweaks, and I think the Roo Sport has all kinds of different versions now. Larger, smaller, better magnet, a Disney version, a branded sports version, all kinds of cool stuff. And I've seen this with probably 100 of our clients. So if you have an existing product, what can you do to make it a little bit different? What can you do to combine a couple elements? And then you have a new product, because the one rule of crowdfunding is you can't launch something old. So if you all have a product on Amazon, you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to go do a Kickstarter campaign. Kickstarter is pretty strict about things having to be new. But you can take something that you have, tweak it a little bit, combine it, make a new prototype, because all you need is a prototype. All you need is a working prototype. And then launch it on Kickstarter and make a bunch of money without ever having to order any product or anything. And this is point 4. I love this picture. This is a guy looking at an egg, but look what he's painting. I don't even need to say anything, right? That's what Kickstarter or Indiegogo can do for you. You can fund your first production run with very, very little upfront cash or capital. Like a couple $1,000, If you need to hire a video agency or something, maybe a little bit more if you can do it yourself. And that's pretty cheap when we're talking about potentially being able to raise several $1 million. Number 5, you can grow your email list and your brand. I think everybody likes to, well, most people I talk to, they don't have an email list, or they can't sustain an email list, or they're talking about building funnels and everything. Again, when you get these early adopters and these innovators and everybody together, because they're called your backers, you get all their emails, and they love you, especially if you take care of them and treat them special and give them special little things along the way, and they'll be with you all along the way. What does that mean? You can email them all and tell them to give you a 5-star review on Amazon. You can get 500 5-star reviews, or you could space it out, drip sequence it, all kinds of stuff like that. I've done all kinds of marketing, and here I am 6 years later in this space, and email marketing is still the most effective type of marketing in terms of what you spend and what you put into it. Even though paid media for a time kind of was surpassing that. Subsequent Kickstarter and Amazon launches will be stronger. I love that one. We see this all the time. So let's say I had a client called Basics, the Basics wallet that I had in my back pocket. We raised them $171,000 4 years ago. Now, when they launch, they're raising $1 million. And how? They email those first 7,000 backers, and they say, hey, remember our wallet? Check out this one, check out this one, check out this one. And they've made so much money off of that first 171,000, millions. Less dependent on Amazon. The more you can own assets, the less dependent you are on whatever comes next. There's been so many things that have come next in just 6 years. It's amazing. We're always pivoting and adapting and changing ourselves. The more you can own of your assets, the better. And I think crowdfunding helps you own a lot of that. So, all right, that's why this matters to you. Now let me talk a little bit about how you can actually make some money. So we call these the 7 Ps for crowdfunding success. There they are. I'll go through each one individually for the remainder of this presentation. P number 1, product. This one we always run into lots of different talks with our clients because everybody loves their baby. But most of the time, they haven't really tried to figure out this question. Why do you love this? Have you asked anybody else? Oh yeah, everybody loves it. Really? Who have you talked to? What makes it different? What makes it special? What makes it unique? And again, I've given this presentation, like the 7 Ps, I've talked about this for a few years now, and I think a lot of it is going to be like, oh yeah, I get that. But you'd be surprised. I mean, we're almost raising $200 million, and you'd be surprised. I'd say 85% of the people that we work with simply are not doing the things I'm going to be talking about in this presentation. And if you do them, you're going to have such a greater chance to succeed because marketing and sales and business is actually really simple. There's a lot of little steps involved, but it's actually really simple. There's nothing special. There's no tricks. There's no hacks. There's no get-rich-quick thing. Just do these freaking things I'm going to be talking about, and you will succeed. Okay? Point number 2. Is there something about your product, some benefit, that makes it wholly special? Would you personally buy this product? I mean, sometimes you're selling things that you don't necessarily resonate with, and I get that. But generally speaking, can you see yourself wanting the thing that you're selling? Ask yourself these questions. We call this one the triple F. Will your friends, family, or fools actually give you cash for it? FFF. The way that works, everybody have Facebook, I would imagine. Everybody has a Twitter, email list, LinkedIn contacts. Here's how you do it. Hey, I'm going to be selling this watch here, and it's going to be $100. Okay, this is my prototype. Please forgive it, but I would plan on launching this on May 15th of this year, so 11 days. Would you be willing to give me $100 for this watch? People do it all wrong. They're like, hey, look at this cool watch. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I love that. I'd buy it. You've got to get to the stage of validation. You've got to get them to actually part with their money. And it's hard work. When I say 80 to 90% of our clients don't do this, it's true. The 10% that do it raise like $20,000 just on FFF in the first day. And when you do that, you rank higher in all of the algorithms on these crowdfunding sites, and then you resonate with all of the organic traffic that these sites get. And then you take advantage of the platform. So it starts with the same stuff they teach somebody who becomes an insurance agent. Start with your friends and family. Get them. Ask them who they know. It sounds crazy, but in crowdfunding, what I have found is a paradoxical vehicle. You don't make money until you bring your little crowd to the crowd and show the big crowd that you got something that people want. And sometimes you have to do that with your friends and family. Pretty much every time you do. You'd be surprised how many times we do a relaunch and do it right, and it's successful, whereas before, it was a failure simply because that first few days didn't look like anybody cared for it, even though it was a good idea. If you don't have any friends, you got a conference here. Get all of us to give you $100 by the end of this conference. I think there's always a way. But yeah, I mean, if you're shy, if you're scared, if you're timid, I have another presentation I give all the time, and I talk about how entrepreneurship and business is in the blood. For some people, it's just not for you. If it's scary. I mean, I'm kind of an introvert, actually, so getting up on stage is sometimes scary for me. And I get real tired after, too. Like, I can give a little bit of energy now, but in a couple hours, I'm going to be like, oh, I need to go back to the room, sit down. It wears me out, right? So I get where you're coming from in that sense. Maybe you're a little shy, maybe a little introverted, but you got to do it. Entrepreneurship's in the blood. And if it's not for you, you got to find some people who can do it for you, who you can lead, or you got to be a follower. And that's not a bad thing. We have lots of good people in our company who make a lot of money, who aren't necessarily entrepreneurs, but they do good work. Good question, though. Is your product techie or cool? How much ubiquity might your idea have? You got to be thinking about that. Ubiquity just means how much everywhere does it have? Like a watch. Everybody could see themselves wearing a watch. Everybody probably has some form of a wallet or a purse. The more ubiquity you have, while being able to dial in, the more likelihood you're going to have a chance for success if you can combine techie or cool. What makes this watch techie or cool? Because it's not really techie, right? It's kind of old school. Well, it floats in water, and it's made out of like refined whiskey barrels or something, if I remember right. And this wallet, it's really small. It's really minimalistic, so that's kind of cool. These are all over the place now. These guys were one of the first people, though. And it does fun things, right? You can pull out your two main cards, put it together. You can fan out some stuff. So, again, it's not necessarily techie, but it's kind of cool. You've got to be able to add an element like that to your product. And if you don't have it, it's not going to succeed. Well, a lot of people need or want this product and its benefits. That's the idea of ubiquity. Example number one, actually a watch, of all things. This is Lunaware. Not this watch, actually, a different watch. This was the ad that we ran. And this ad, you might want to take a screenshot of this one. This was good. Still one of the best ads we've ever ran. Couldn't believe it. And can you see a watch in that picture? That little circle is actually the watch. You've got to have a great story for your product. And this particular ad is actually a little different. So that guy in the picture is the grandson of the guy to the right, if you're looking at it like this. And so this 73-year-old watchmaker passes on legacy of watchmaking to grandson. You see how suddenly you've got a story in a few words? Copy matters, story matters, and real stories matter too. You can't just make one up. It's got to be real. If you don't have a real story, I mean, you can fake it for a while, but if we're talking about long-term success and building a brand that resonates, it's got to be real. This was, like I said, this was raising $50,000 to $70,000 a day on like $3,000 ad spend. Like I still don't know if we've seen anything as good as this in all these years. And that's why I still use this example. Number two, this is onsen. I might be pronouncing it wrong. I think it comes from like the Japanese bath houses or something, but onsen. This is a campaign we ran maybe a year ago, 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago. I can't remember. So what makes a towel, I don't know why I said, okay, P number 1. Yeah, this is example number 2. What makes a towel techie or unique or cool, right? And what's the story behind it? Well, the story is the Japanese bathhouse bringing it back. That kind of sounds cool, right? You're like, oh, what kind of towel is that? What's that got to do with anything? So that's why he named it there, because I guess he lived in Japan for a few years or something. And then it's got the waffle weave, but then it has some kind of microbial technology. I think it's got some silver in it or something maybe. And so all those things are suddenly in this towel. And this towel, that screenshot, there was 15 days left. I believe we ended up raising $1 million for this towel. We're very close to it. So $1 million for a towel. All right, that's P number 1, product. P number 2, platform. This one's real easy. And I'll use an example everybody can resonate with. If you're selling like landscaping or lawn care services, not saying anybody is, you're not going to have the right platform be crowdfunding, Indiegogo or Kickstarter. Why? That's just not the nature of it. And that's why P number 2 is platform, because you can't just have one, right? So if I have the product, the product's great, right? There's lots of landscaping companies that do well, but the platform's wrong, so now I'm not going to raise any money. Platform matters. The 2 best platforms for rewards-based crowdfunding are Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And that is a clickable link. And here's the example of that. Again, it might be a little small. I had to shrink things, so if you can zoom in and get it on Twitter. Kickstarter is like 100 times better than Indiegogo. Now, I'm going to say it from the stage. You saw I was hesitant for a second because I have relationships with both companies, but I'm a data person, and now, particularly this year, it just gets better and better. Kickstarter is better than Indiegogo, and Indiegogo is way better at sales than Kickstarter. So you know where I'm going with that. Just trust me. Launch on Kickstarter, there's the proof. If you ever want to launch a crowdfunding campaign, okay, there is one exception. If you don't have a working prototype, go to Indiegogo. They're a little more lenient, which is also a reason why they don't raise as much money. Because if you don't have a working prototype, you're probably going to be slower in your delivery and fulfillment. You're going to piss off people, and then eventually, long term, nobody's going to want to come to your platform. P number 3, presentation. Oops. That one skipped. All right. This is Shopbox. Aaron Johnson. Really, really great success story. If you ever watch HSN or QVC, he's all over that now. But when he first came to us, he actually had raised no money. You can see the first screenshot, the before. I don't have the amount in there, but I think it was like $7,000. And he had a goal of like $20,000. So the Shopbox is a box that you could put this watch in and take nice pictures of it. It's a way to take product image shots. Really cool idea. It pops up really nice, really great. Problem is, for some reason, he didn't use his product to present his product. So his video was really bad. All of his product shots and his photography were horrible. His layout was confusing. His reward structure was backwards. And didn't raise any money. In fact, he hired us. We didn't raise him any money. So we did the promotion P, which we're going to talk about in a second, and it didn't work. And so that led us to the finding, we've seen this hundreds of times now, presentation P is greater than promotion P. You have to get the presentation right. So what did we do? We refilmed his video. We cleaned up the graphics and images. Just Google Shopbox 2.0, and you can look at the differences, because I don't want to go all over the place here, but I would do it, and then you can get a good feel for, wow. And I'm not joking with you. You think I'm messing around. This isn't me just up here selling. We did not change anything other than the presentation. We did the exact same marketing. We spent the exact same money. We targeted the exact same people. And the difference was, I can't remember. You'll have to check it out too, but hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then because of that $100,000 raise, I guess this is another reason you want to go to crowdfunding, because on Amazon, it's probably hard to show proof. Maybe, I don't know, you get a lot of 5-star reviews. Crowdfunding is amazing for showing proof. You're just like, hey, go here. We raised $1 million. We raised $500,000. We raised even $100,000, which I think he was $200,000 or $300,000. I forget. He showed that to HSN and QVC, like, oh, you got to be on our show. Went on his show, and I think he sold like $1 million in the little time period he was on there. So one more reason why crowdfunding is a great way to go. And presentation is very important. That's P number 3. P number 4. And this is the one Funded Today is known for. Everybody likes the sizzle. How do we raise so much money? How do we do it so well? Number 1, paid media. Facebook, Instagram. Haven't really ever found success on Twitter. I don't know if anybody has. If anybody has, let's talk. There's a job for you. Maybe there's a way to make money. I don't know. Maybe not. Pinterest is okay. Really love Facebook and Instagram. I still do. It's been 5 years and they're still really good. They're the top. So if you're going to spend money, simple answer is spend money on Facebook and Instagram. And don't 80-20. Spend money on those 2 platforms. Don't waste your time on anything else. That's paid media. Spend money, make money. Cross collaborations is an easy way. So if you don't have any friends, go make friends with a campaign that's similar to yours that could have a synergistic relationship. So maybe a backpack and a wallet or something. You know, you could put your wallet in our backpack. So you'd say, hey, you've got a really cool backpack. I've got this cool wallet. If you tell your people about mine, I'll tell my people about yours. This is actually it sounds, again, this stuff is simple. This is some simple stuff. You ready? You want to know how to make $1 million? Line up 1,000 people who have ran a Kickstarter campaign before and tell them to tell all of their backers sometime during your campaign to go check out your campaign. You'll make $1 million. That's how good it converts. Not joking around. The numbers for cross collaborations are better than anything else. Meaning, let's say you had 1,000 backers. That Shopbox had about 1,000 backers. So if he told his 1,000 backers, maybe he'll get a 10% conversion rate, meaning 100 of his backers will go back some other campaign, versus a conversion rate of maybe 1% on paid media. 10 times better sometimes. cross collaborations. Really simple. That example is Juicer. You can kind of see they were a juicing machine, and that one didn't even relate. It doesn't have to relate. You can get anybody to post about you. But Juicer told their backers about Jack, which is a little thing for headphones, I believe, and it converted really well. And you can see how it works. Basically, you go like this: hey, backers, here's the update. We're excited. We've raised this much money today. Here's our production schedule. Da 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 da. By the way, in the spirit of crowdfunding and entrepreneurship, here's a couple other of our friends you should check out. That way, you do it in a non-promotional, non-spammy kind of way, and it still converts really well as a PS. Cashback. This is something that we do. There's another one of our partners called Kickbooster. They do the same thing. We incentivize people. We give them 5 to 10% cash back if they purchase. And we have, I think, a 400,000 person email list now. So a couple times per week, we send out an email to those 400,000 people, and we say, hey, here are 4 or 5 projects you might want to check out. And if you buy them, you get 10% cash back. And they can redeem that instantly through PayPal. Earned media and outreach. This one's been pretty good. Over the last several years, we've been able to make and forge some pretty strong partnerships. These are some of the places we've been featured. But we have great contacts at Gizmodo, Gadget Flow, Cool Material, lots of places. Press, everybody wants to get press. I want press. It's amazing. I can raise somebody no money, but I can land them in Mashable, and they're like, yeah. I don't understand it personally. I need to see money in order for me to consider something successful. So we still get press. But speaking on that point, and I actually have a graphic for that, but not in this presentation. We analyze $65 million in pledges. So not everything we've raised, but a statistically significant portion, $65 million. And of that $65 million in pledges, anybody want to take a guess for how much came from press? So like Wall Street Journal, Mashable, Forbes, NBC, WAPO, 20%? Anybody else? Less than 5. There you go, 4%. So you know what's up. Yeah, press. It can cast a wide net, and it's cool. I showed you a picture of me getting all kinds of press. It's cool. It's fun. You can brag about it, but a lot of times it doesn't really result in too much money. Even if it gets you millions, like some of the press we got us millions of views, but it didn't really result in millions of clients. So, press. But we do it. And again, like I said, we've curated our press. So I'll give you a hint. The way you make money on press is you pay for press. You find somebody who will write an article and take 10%. And don't pay them up front unless you know they're going to raise you a lot of money. A lot of these influencers and stuff, that's a crazy market. Influencer marketing, in fact, that's Tiffany Albert. She's my business partner's sister. She's, I think, the most famous unsigned artist in the world. She's got, I think, the 7th or 8th most likes and subscribers on YouTube and all kinds of stuff. But she posts for us, and it raises a little bit of money, like maybe 10, 20 grand, but we raise that every second. So it's not that cool. So, and she charges like $5,000 if it wasn't like Thomas's sister. So, and big brands pay it. She's contracted with Disney and all kinds of places. So while I like the idea of influencer marketing, hopefully one day people will actually look at numbers and say, wait a sec, we can talk about branding all day, right? Me and Thomas hate it. Oh, it's branding though. It made you $100, but millions of people saw it. I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of that. And here's why. Maybe with a Coke, you drink it every day. You see it every day. But with a crowdfunding product, you might think about it one time and it's out of your mind forever. It's not the same kind of thing. So that's my philosophy why influencer marketing, unless you get them to work on performance, heck, if they work on performance, best thing ever, but none of them want to, right? So over the last 6 years, we found a bunch that like to work on performance, probably because they burned too many bridges charging people $5,000, and eventually somebody caught up with this, so now they work with us. And it's good. It's okay. That's the way you do press. And you can do that with big places. Mashable, Gizmodo, we've got relationships with all of them. And they eventually see the light. And sometimes they can make a lot of money. We had George Takei, I forget how to pronounce his name, I'm probably pissing off a lot of Star Trek fans. He posted for the Evolution bra, raised $350,000, tracked. So probably $700,000 didn't track. That was pretty cool. And we didn't really even ask him to. He just posted about it on Facebook. So influencers absolutely have their place, especially when it happens organically. I wouldn't discount it, but I would definitely never spend money up front. That's the takeaway. that's promotion. A lot of other things you can talk about. Pretty much whatever you can do to raise money that's ethical and honest and gets results, go for it. But those are the ones that we do that we've kind of dialed in on. Price. Anybody watch the TV show Shark Tank? Okay, a few. Dragon's Den? Okay, Canadian? Okay. Yeah, I was in Canada and no one knew Shark Tank, and I was sitting up here and I heard crickets. I didn't know Dragon's Den. I was like, oh, frick, I got to think of something else. So I went home and learned what they listened to, and it's Dragon's Den. So it's a pretty good show. It's about some people that have some money, some angels, some venture capitalists, and they invest money into products. Well, lots of our companies have been on there. In fact, one show, for the 5 people they had, were all Funded Today clients. And they actually told us, they're like, we talked about Funded Today a ton, but they edit it all out. They've always been really good at not, like they talk actually for 3 to 5 hours on that show, and they cut it down to like 15 to 20 minutes. So anyway, Catherine Krug was one of those clients who was on Shark Tank. And the reason I tell this story, it's not a happy story. So Catherine Krug is a fierce negotiator, and she negotiated her fees with us, and she's like, I don't have any margin. I can only pay you guys this percentage, and I've got to sell my product for this. And smart of her. Like, we raised her a lot of money. This campaign raised $1.2 million, and for a time was the most funded female product in the history of crowdfunding. Has anybody seen the Better Back? It's actually really cool. I use it every day. You wrap it around yourself, and it straps to your knees, and then it kind of makes you have perfect posture while you're working. If I don't wear it, I'm like this when I work. I'll lean back in my chair. Anyway, we raised her a bunch of money. It was a good deal. But she gets on the show, and she says, yeah, I've got amazing margins. It only cost me $7 out the door to ship these and send them. And I thought, maybe I didn't know. It was pretty high quality, and she seemed pretty legit. And she was selling them for $50, then $75. So we kept saying, there's got to be more margin. If you give us more, we can raise you more, kind of thing. And it was genius of her for how she went about it. So that's important. The other part of the story is, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but this is a practice called anchoring. So I mentioned $50, $49.90 or something, $49, $50. Let's just say 50 and 75. She never actually sold it for 75. But she had that level there anchoring against the other level. And it worked really good to kind of say, here's the early bird discount. She kept just increasing the early bird discount as it went along. Now, she did this honestly and ethically. She had, I think, 2,500 or something. But instead of just saying 2,500 were available, she just kept bumping it up slowly. So there always only seemed to be 6 or 7 available as the campaign went on. And that worked really well. It still works really well. It's a great strategy. We do it all the time. And the $75 level is there. I think some people actually pledged for it. I was like, why are these guys pledging when they can get the same thing for 50? But again, it's the internet. Hard to know. Price matters. And sometimes, going back to the 7 Ps and why price matters, sometimes, she did test 75. I remember. Sorry. So she tested $75 and it didn't work. Dropped the price to 50 and it converted like hotcakes. That's why price matters so much. And again, when she dropped the price, right, I can't afford you guys. Turns out she could have afforded us like double what she paid us. So build in margins. I think I have okay. Might be hard to see again. Sorry, I keep saying that. The first example, I just did like 80-20 for cost of goods sold. So the first example, and these are unrealistic, but just so you get a point, they lose like 170 grand. The next example, without marketing, they make 100 grand. With marketing, they make 130 grand. So build in, and I had marketing, it's like 35%. So spending 35% somewhere to acquire these new backers. Build that into your product. And that's one of my favorite sayings in business. I've seen this so many times. If you can't spend money to make money, you don't have a business. You might as well go get a job, or you might as well not work for somebody. Like, margin matters so much. So build it in. Be like Catherine and start out at 75 and only pay us X, and go down to 50 and still only pay us X. Build that in. It's good, it matters, and if you try for that, and again, a lot of people ask me this question, so I'll just answer it right now. What do I charge? How do I price it? Start out really high. Doesn't work, go a little lower. If it works at 75, imagine how happy she would have been. Didn't work. She probably could have went maybe 60 or something, but she just went right to 50. Big drop. And it worked really well, probably because of the anchoring. And it still works really well. She's got a 2.0, and she just got done doing super straps. That one was on Kickstarter, and that one I think it raised close to $1 million too. So she's building a whole entire lifestyle brand around posture and things like that. P number 6, and this one's kind of the mystical one, I guess you could say. This is the one like, well, wait a sec. So I got a lot of words here. Probably easier just to read it than for me to explain it. Everyone thinks their product is better than what's out there, but it's got to be perceived as better too. A note on perception. Each of our 7 Ps really has 2 elements to them. The substance of the 7 Ps, and then the perception of these 7 Ps. So you can have a presentation P that conveys your product's X value, right? Catherine's $75. But when you change your presentation, and the perception of your whole product can change. Shopbox, right? He sold it for the exact, I told you I didn't change anything. I didn't change price. I didn't change my promotion. All I changed was the presentation. So even though your product might not change physically, when you present it differently, your product P will change in the minds of your customers or backers. Onsen towel. It has some intrinsic value perceived you cannot get elsewhere. If you look at that towel, you've probably seen like hundreds of towels like that, right, from the picture? Where you're like, did that towel look different to you? Maybe I was just like, oh, that's a really cool towel. But when I started thinking about it, I'm like, no, that's actually a towel I've seen a lot of different places. But it somehow had that intrinsic value perceived that made all the difference and made that towel the most funded towel in history. And the other towels you see down at Bed Bath & Beyond or wherever you shop, not necessarily. And I didn't tell you, he charged like $60 for these towels. So a high-priced towel, too. Think of Apple. They're really good at that perception thing, right? They can charge $1,200 for the iPhone X. People pay it. Costs them like $40 to make. Can they find it elsewhere? Availability. Will the product get to manufacturing stage, or is the campaign too far from the funding goal? And another note on perception. It's not always, are you building the best mousetrap? It's, are you building the mousetrap, the thing that people want right now? Timing matters. We saw trends like this all the time. 5-6 years ago, lots of people started getting into the smart wallet and the minimalistic things. I don't see that as much anymore. A couple years ago, it was smart luggage. But then with all the TSA regulations, all the smart stuff kind of got phased out, and they kind of got beat up. And nowadays, we're seeing a kind of a mix of a lot of different things. I think because the industry started to mature a little bit, people are actually doing some of the stuff we're talking about a lot more instead of just being like, oh, that wallet did good. I'm going to invent a wallet similar. And they're coming up with lots of creative things. And every month, something new surprises me. There's a product called Spine Gym. I actually, when I came home from Everest, there was a Spine Gym sitting on my, sitting in my room. I was like, wow, it finally shipped. It's been like 2 years. And that thing is, if you want to see something strange that raised $2-3 million, I think it was $3 million now, go look at Spine Gym. It's another type of posture device, but you like stand up and you move. It's weird, but that thing was also converted really, really well. What are your, and that was such, I guess I should talk about this one more time. That was such a perception thing. Watch the video for Spine Gym for some homework and tell me if in the first 15, 20 seconds, you're not like, what's going on here? What is this? It was so well done. Nothing really ever since is like that. One more part of probability perception. You have to be believable. People have to look at the idea, and you, which is people, we'll talk about that one last. They have to look at it and they have to say, can this actually happen? If they think it's too far out or you're not far along enough in prototyping and manufacturing, that's going to be a problem. People. This one is probably the most important. That's why I put it last. And it touches on perception too. This is Freddie with Edge of Belgravia, a pretty big company out of, he's actually not, he has a company in London, but he's German. And Freddie invented some knives called Kurehana. Has anybody seen those? They were like the coolest knives ever if you're into knives. Most funded knife ever, still. And he also shipped them really quick. I think he promised, so he under-promised, over-delivered. He promised like 6 months, and he got them shipped out in like 4 or 5 months. Beat all the deadlines, made all his backers happy. So now he's got all those backers for future campaigns. And he just launched another campaign he made for like cutting boards. I think he made like $100,000 in 20 days. Just because he was so good to his backers, everybody's like, I better buy the cutting boards too. This guy's amazing. People matter. He's got a good company behind him, a good team. There's lots of examples of good people. Haral Sanghavi, Balbach's travel jacket, did well, ran another campaign, did well. The Maddox brand, they started out as basics. They've got 5 or 6 campaigns. Peak Design, every year. They're a big company now, big camera company. If anybody's into photography, they probably have Peak Design stuff. Every year they run 1 or 2 campaigns, and every year their campaign is bigger and better than the last. The only reason why is because the people. They've proven time and time again that they can deliver. Now, if you aren't that person yet, you got to show that you are. Leverage your past successes on the Kickstarter Indiegogo page. Talk about who you are, why you can do what you can do, and as much as possible, let them know that you are capable of making the thing that you are talking about come to life. And if you can do that, you'll add to that perception that your product can come to reality. So, summing things up, product, platform, presentation, promotion, price, perception and probability, and people. Combine all together, you got a good chance for profit. And as I hinted earlier in the presentation, even if you're underutilizing just one of the P's, if even one of the equations missing, then your chances for success diminish drastically. I mentioned that we do some stuff with Amazon. And then questions, if we have time. Thank you. And let's get a mic for you first.
I'm coming.
Really love the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two-part question. For promotion, I see you didn't have any Google. No Google Display, no YouTube. That doesn't work for you?
That's a good question. So during the live campaign, we are, and I probably should update it a little bit. During the live campaign, we are doing retargeting now within the Google Display Network. But it's not great. We're talking, if you raise $1 million, it might represent 60,000 of it. So yes, do it, but only after you've mastered all the other elements. Now, if we're talking about it for branding and building a company, yeah, we love it. We don't spend a lot. I think we spend like maybe $200,000 a year on advertising for our company, so keywords related to our company, because we have a pretty good, strong word of mouth and thousands of inbounds coming from all kinds of different sources, from all the different things that we've done over the years. But we're ramping it up. We're starting to spend more. There's a quote that we go by. At first, I will send for many fishers, and they will fish, and cast wide nets. And then I will send for hunters, and they will hunt them out of the crags of the rocks or something, right? We're kind of at that stage now, where we're getting more dialed in, and hence doing a lot more with that kind of stuff.
Second part of the question is, how do you guys get paid? You guys
we take a percentage of all the money raised. Yep. So it just depends. Now, do you want to know the percentages? Or?
Sure.
Okay. It ranges from client pays ad spend, meaning you would cover all the costs, and then you'd pay us a lesser amount, and that's 12 to 15%, versus you don't pay us anything, or you pay us what we call our due diligence and product validation fee, which is a couple $1,000s up front, and that covers some testing for 7 to 10 days. And then after, we would take 25 to 35% of all funds raised. So if we raised you $1 million, you might pay us $2,500 up front, and we'd take $250,000 on the back end. Yep. Thank you. How much time do we have for questions? Are we good on time?
We just have what time is it?
It is 11:02.
We got time for 2 questions.
Okay.
Hey, Zach.
Hi, how are
Kate
you?
here. Thanks so much for the 7 Ps. I love it. It's great. It's really helpful and very simple. My question is, if we filled out the 7 Ps and showed it to you, would you be able to tell with pretty good precision whether this would hit, the campaign would be successful or not?
Let's define successful. So crowdfunding has a goal. Maybe you'll put a goal for 20,000. Now, perception, maybe you actually want to raise 100,000, but you put 20,000 so you can hit the 20,000 first to make you seem successful, and then you get to 100,000. So what's your goal? Is your goal 5 million, 1 million? Throw out a number.
Say 1 million.
1 million. I would say so if you have all the 7 Ps, and I agree that they're locked in, which is a great thing, by the way, I love that. We should require that of our clients. Tell us your 7 Ps, let's audit them. We don't actually do that. Thank you. We should have them like, hey, before we even start working with you, tell me your 7 Ps. And if I don't agree with you, let's get those fixed before. Then I would still, since you said $1 million, I would still want to test your campaign for 7 to 10 days. And after that point, I could tell you if you get to $1 million or not. Now, if you said 20 grand, yeah. 50 grand, probably yes for that too. Yep. that answer your question? Sorry. Okay.
I'm investing in a board game that's based on a novel series. The last book is coming out. It's like an 8-book series. Do you ever do fantasy board games?
So by investing, are you a backer, or are you actually?
No, I'm one of the equity owners. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's a buddy of mine who got the rights from the author, and so.
Okay. Yeah, you're doing the right thing. Yeah, we absolutely do. It's fairly new, but it's becoming the biggest thing in crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're in the right industry for sure.
So if you have any history in that, then we should talk.
Okay. Yeah. No, I love board games. There's a lot of money in that right now. That is actually doing this still while everything else is kind of still plateaued, you know?
We can do one more. Are we good?
I think we're good.
All right. Thanks, Zach. Zach
Yep,
will be around
thank you.
all day, so.